Good evening, everybody. I welcome all the people who are joining our BovINE webinar today, and I'm very glad to welcome you. My name is Frank Zerbe. I'm a vet and scientist from the Friedrich Loeffler Institute in Germany, and I will coordinate this webinar. Beef Innovation Network Europe is a funded project under the program of Horizon 2020, and the topic is compiling knowledge ready for practice. At the first, I want to give you a short introduction what BovINE is. BovINE consists out of a consortium out of 18 non-profit partners from 9 EU countries and UK. It includes beef associations, stakeholders, scientific institutions, universities, and farm advisory companies. And associated are advisory groups and media partners. At the left-hand side, you can see the countries which are the partners. And if you click a flag icon, you get access to each partner in the respective country. The core of Bovine are four Bovine themes. These are the work package, socio-economic resilience, animal health and welfare, environmental sustainability and production efficiency and meat quality. And if you visit our BovINE website, you can click also one of these four icons and get access on more information. What I want to show you here are the work package leader. So we have Keys from Italy. He is leading the technical working group Socio-Economic Resilience. Then it's me. I'm the leader of Animal Health and Welfare. Karen and Reed from Belgium are leading the work package Environmental Sustainability. And Virginia from Spain is leading the working group Production Efficiency and Meat Quality. You find more information on these technical working groups if you enter our website. The project management is in the hand of Chagast, Ireland. Mav Henshin is our project coordinator and Richard Lynch, our project manager. Okay. At our website, you find a link to our Bovine Knowledge Hub. It is the main aim of BovINE to exchange knowledge in the beef sector. BovINE has developed a procedure and the methodology to identify user needs and to fundle priority topics and to collect research, innovation, and good practices, which are shared EU-wide. The link for the BovINE Knowledge Hub is shown below. There you find the login. There is only the need to register for the Knowledge Hub, and the content on the hub is free available. There you can find our contribution to different themes and topics. If you have a look at the topics of animal health and welfare on the Bovine Knowledge Hub, there you can find the priority topics of different years. So the topics of this year are management, housing, and environmental factors which affect animal welfare in rearing and finishing units. And the second is simple labor saving tools to measure and communicate high animal welfare standards on beef farm. And this is our topic of this webinar, and we want to show you different research innovations. Okay, so our webinar, Tools to Measure and Communicate High Animal Welfare Standards on beef farms, are here, and I'm very glad to have 3 speakers for this webinar. The first is Kornel Cimer. He is a scientist at the Thünen Institute in Germany. The second speaker is Beatrice Mounaix. She is also a scientist at IDELE in France. And the third is George Stilwell. He is a veterinarian at the ULisboa, Portugal. And I hope that we have a good overview on such tools, on animal welfare standards, and I'm very happy and welcome the speakers to our webinar. And at last, I want to ask all the participants to use the Q box for question. And at the end of this webinar, we want to have a discussion. So I thank you, and I think we start with a presentation of Kornel, and we will change the screen now. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank, for the introduction. The first question, as always, do you see my presentation and can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
That's great. Okay, thank you very much. My name is Kornel Cimer. I'm from the Thünen Institute. Welcome to my presentation, which is about an online training course for on-farm self-assessment of beef cattle welfare. This is one of the tools developed in the project ICOTIGA. Here you can see the whole project team. The Federal Ministry of Food and Agriculture in Germany has founded this project. The project was coordinated by the Association of Technology and Structures in Agriculture, the KTBL, and the University of Kassel worked on broiler chickens, laying hens, and turkey. The Friedrich Loeffler Institute worked on sows, piglets, and fattening pigs. And finally, the Thünen Institute, the place where I'm working, on dairy cows, calves, and beef cattle. The Thünen Institute is a federal research institute. In totally, it consists of 14 institutes that carry out research and provide policy advice in the field of agriculture, forestry, and fisheries. Here you can see our team, the working group for farm animal welfare. I will divide my presentation into the following sections. A little bit about the background of the project, then project content outputs. Mainly, I will focus today on the online training course we developed. And briefly, I would like to show some results out of the on-farm evaluation we did with participating farmers. And finally, I will come to a conclusion. Since 2014, the German Animal Welfare Act requires all livestock keepers to monitor appropriate animal-based measures. They are termed animal welfare indicators in the legal requirement, in order to safeguard that the animals are kept and given care according to their needs. And this should be done additionally to daily routine inspections. But however, no detailed provisions regarding the content or the scope or the implementation of these self-assessments are given. So the aim of our project, ICOTIGA, was to test the feasibility of guidelines for on-farm self-assessment for cattle, pigs and poultry, or in our case for dairy, calves and beef cattle, which were published in 2016. A few words to the background of these protocols. The indicators presented in those guidelines were selected by expert groups in a previous process, mainly out of the welfare quality protocols. The welfare quality project was a large EU-wide project where animal welfare indicators for cattle, pigs and poultry had been developed and also tested in a scientific context. So the validity and the reliability of these indicators were safeguarded through this previous project. That means that the indicators provide credible, trustworthy conclusions, and if you repeat the measurements under the same condition, you will get an equal result. So out of this pool of indicators were selected to address the most relevant animal welfare issues per species. For example, swellings at the carpal joint in beef cattle. To use the protocols on farm by farmers instead of scientists in a scientific context, the protocol had been simplified. For example, using multi-level scoring, we use simplified, robust scores with only 2 levels. So that means that the protocols are quicker to use in the stable, and it makes it also easier in a context of self-assessment for farmers or even for auditors. Within the ICOTIGA project, the feasibility of this guideline was tested with farmers and, considering their feedback, further improved. So therefore, 2020, an updated edition was published, and you can have it with robust ring bindings and washable pages. So you can use it in the stable, but you can also get a free PDF download. If you click this link afterwards, you will also get the presentation, so you can search it out, check it out for yourself. Furthermore, we developed a couple of tools, like an online training course, different assessment tools for data recording, for example, based on Excel or paper basis, depending on the user, and reference values, which helps farmers to classify their results. In the following, I will focus on the online training course. So here we have the welfare indicators we use for beef cattle. Nasal discharge, so visible discharge from the nostrils, lean animals, cleanliness means that less than 25% of the trunk is covered with dirt. Integument alterations like wounds, scabs, or swellings at the tarsal joint, carpal joint, or on the neck. Claw condition, lameness, and tongue rolling. since a guideline is not enough to enable to use the indicators in a standardized way, we developed an online training course. It teaches the assessment of animal-based indicators on the content of the guidelines, and the aim of this course is to learn and to practice these indicators. The training course is freely available at the internet. Therefore, you have to register with your name and an email address. And if you do so, you can stop the training whenever you want, and you can continue at the same place where you have stopped. Beside that, you have also the opportunity to obtain a certification of attendance at the end of the course. But however, there is also the possibility to use a demo login mode. Therefore, you don't have to register. All training functions are also available there. But however, there is neither the possibility to stop and to continue at the same place, nor to get a personalized certification because your content cannot be stored. The animal-based indicators are by far the most important content. And for each indicator, we provide a detailed method description with information on the background, especially on risk factors that can be detected by using the indicator. We also provide illustrated classification tables and videos, which help to understand the definition and the scoring scale. For the cattle training course, we scored over 1,000 photos and videos in total. These enabled us to create a silver standard, which we can use for exercises and for the online test. At the end of each page, you can find exercises for the animal-based indicators. Here you can train your scoring with images and with videos. And if you do so, you immediately receive a detailed feedback on whether you did it right or wrong according to the definition. And the feedback text also explains mistakes you might have taken. Here on the side, there is an overview on how many exercises you have scored in the right way. They are shown in green, or the wrong way shown in red. At the end of the training, you can take an online test on each animal welfare indicators, which is a different function than the exercises. Thereby, an equal number of videos or photos will show up in a standardized and randomized way. Means if you repeat the test, a different selection of photos will show up. And at the end of the test, you will receive a feedback with a smiley in a traffic light color for each indicator. And beside this sends a statistic value, the so-called PABAC, which is a statistic method to measure inter-observer agreement. But I want to go into that any deeper. It refers to a comparison between the silver standard and your scoring. And it's easy to understand. A green smiley will show up if you score with perfect or with good agreement. A yellow one will show up if you have a moderate agreement, and if you totally fail, the red one will show up. And in the case of moderate or poor agreement, further practice is recommended. If you score all indicators at the green level, which are 6 in beef cattle, you will automatically receive a certification of successfully participation in the course. Well, that was the online training, now I would like to show some brief results regarding the evaluation of the concept by farmers. In total, 44 cattle farms covering 20 beef farms and 24 dairy cattle farms participated in the project across Germany. First, we trained the farmers to use animal-based indicators for on-farm self-assessment, and after using the welfare assessment protocol for a year, we asked the farmers in an interview to grade the concept on a scoring scale between 1, which stands for very good, to 6 stands for bad, or depending on the question with yes or no. The first question in the interview was about the integration of the protocol, so how easy or difficult it was to integrate the welfare protocol in their workflow. The farmers rated the ease of integration as good, median with a 2. We also asked them if they would like to continue to use the protocol after the project. This question gave a slightly different picture, but in media, again, rated as good. There were no differences between beef cattle and dairy farms. The most frequently mentioned obstacle regarding the implementation, but also the continuation of on-farm self-assessment was the amount of time and effort needed. And however, farmers also demand a flexible use of the protocol. They mentioned that they would like to use only parts of the concept and in a flexible way. The farmers rated the guidelines and the online training course as well with good, and they stated that the guidelines are largely self-explanatory. We also asked the farmers whether their view on the animals had changed by using animal-based indicators, and the majority of the interviewed cattle farmers, 90%, stated that their view on the animal had changed because of this assessment. In that case, beef cattle farmers named nasal discharge and water supply as very important indicators. Rising awareness for the topic of animal welfare was mentioned as one of the major benefits of project participation. To use animal-based indicators in a structured way was mentioned as an eye-opener. We also noticed changes on farm during the project period. Most frequently, we perceived improvements in water supply or in space allowance. So here we have our conclusion. The guideline, or the online training and the guideline as well, supports livestock farmers to carry out systematic inspections of animal welfare on their farms. And the concept helps to identify relevant animal welfare problems at an early stage, but also to assess the impact of improvements that have been taken. The concept was well received, and mostly farmers evaluate the concept positively. With the main criticism points was the amount of time and effort needed, and that they would like to use it in a flexible way. Considering the farmers' detailed feedback, all tools have been further improved and are now available in German language. A widespread use of these tools on a regular basis is highly desirable. So thank you for your attention. Please visit our homepage and check out our online course. And if you have further questions, you can just write into the chat, or afterwards you can also write us an email if you have further questions, further interest into the tools or in the project. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Okay, I think you can see me. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Beatrice Mounaix, and I work in the French Livestock Institute. And I hope you can hear me and you can see my screen. I want today to give you a brief presentation of BovINE, which is the French tool to evaluate the welfare of cattle. And more than a tool, BovINE is a key element of the national initiative to help French farmers to improve the welfare of cattle. BovINE has been chosen, among other tools, by both the dairy and the beef cattle sectors, and is now co-owned by their representative bodies, CNIEL for the dairy cattle production chain and Interbev for the beef cattle production chain. And the last version of BovINE, use the pointer. Okay, the last version of BovINE has been developed with expertise of IDELE and technical support from Mounaix. And now, for dairy cattle, BovINE welfare evaluation is included in the Charter of Good Agricultural Practices, which is a national initiative to ensure quality and progress from fork to fork. And for beef cattle, which is our special interest today, it is part of the Label Rouge, which is the national quality scheme for meat production. Up to now, about 2,500 audits have been reported in dairy cattle and about 1,200 audits in beef cattle. And now BovINE is an Excel tool, but an application is expected next year. Today, for beef cattle, BovINE includes 7 observations on animals, among which the testing of the relationship between human and animal, but also several indicators based on body condition, and also stress behaviors like tongue rolling, for instance. Also, 15 measurements related to the housing condition, for instance, the resting surfaces, the watering facilities, and also access to exercise. And also 14 questions on farmer practices or herd results. We investigate the disbudding practices, which are a key point of the welfare of cattle, of course, but we also pay attention to health prevention and to the management of extreme temperatures. Most of these indicators were selected into the welfare quality protocol, and the panel of indicators was set as to meet the OIE requirements regarding the welfare of cattle, but also, of course, the 5 freedom principles. So how does it work? Among all indicators, only 15 are used to calculate the score of welfare. And these indicators, the scoring is based on the welfare quality models, of course, with adjustments. And these adjustments were discussed among stakeholders and experts in order to match any farming system in France, and then to motivate any farmer in any farming system to improve the welfare of cattle. And that was important in the decision process. Of course, other indicators are useful. They help to complete the evaluation, and they provide useful information to find solutions to improve. The scoring goes from 0 to 100, and it is divided in 4 levels. Up to 20, it's not classified. Between 20 and 55, it's improving. Between 55 and 80, it's superior, and over 80, it is excellent. And here are 2 examples of the various scoring methods, for instance, by comparison to a reference, as for the resting surface, or by a combination of information, as for this birding practice, where you can see we combine the practice, but also the age of the practice and the management of pain, if any. And this gives you a score. As I said, the combination of indicators is based on welfare quality models in order to avoid any compensation between criteria. In other words, in welfare, we cannot accept that one dimension has a low score because another gets a high score. So we need complex mathematical models to combine and to calculate the scores. So scores are calculated for each criteria, then for each freedom of welfare, and also at the farm level, combining all the welfare dimensions. And this is made for all categories of animals in the herd, but only adult cattle. And here is how the score is presented. So in blue, you have the score of the farm, which is a position among the distribution of the score of similar farmers. About 1,000 beef cattle farmers are included in the reference panel up to now. And so it is positioned in the distribution, but also compared to what it's shown on gray, which is the mean score of the panel. So this presentation has been chosen because it opens the discussion to possible improvement and can motivate some farmer to improve even when they have good scores. In this example, you can see that this farm has a good score. It is classified in superior, but you can see that almost half of the other one have better scores, and it is in the farm score is under the mean score. So in other words, there are still ways for improvement. And for beef cattle, BovIWell can be realized for fattening young bulls, but also for surplus cows, but once again, only for adult cattle over 6 months old. Finally, BovIWell must be used by trained technicians or vets. First, in order to rely on the skills regarding farming system or animal condition, but also to immediately provide a reliable technical advice in relation with the scoring. Only a farm technician or the vet can see what's wrong and can offer some solution to improve. The farmers must be present all along the audit, and he gets or she gets every explanation of the scoring by the end of the audit. In the tool, when you click on one criteria, then you get all the explanation of how the scoring was calculated, and you also have indication for recommendation of good practices. I told you that auditors must be trained, and they were trained mainly to standardize observation and measurement. And we also organize monthly online meetings for them to answer questions, practical questions, but also to reinforce the training. And of course, several second level controls is planned, but not yet in process. And today we have trained more than 800 auditors. Well, this is the end of my presentation. I thank you for your attention, and I will be pleased to answer any question by the end of the webinar. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, George.
Okay, thank you. I've been having some problems with the webinar. Can you also see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Hello to everyone. I'm going to present in these 10 to 15 minutes what we are doing in Portugal and some of the problems that we may have found along the course. So, as has already been said, consumers are demanding for welfare certification for beef and all other animal products, and they want it all along the production chain, not only in the fattening, but also in the other areas. And so we've been having some difficulties in using, for example, the welfare quality protocol, as it doesn't apply to suckler herds, like this one that we have in the photograph from the Azores Islands, where, because there's a lot of pasture, we do all the suckler herd is on pasture, and the fattening is also done on pasture. So we've been trying to get some solutions for these difficulties, so that we can really certify the product from farm to fork. So, is the welfare quality protocol adequate for other systems? We know that it is a good protocol. At least it's a useful protocol for beef cattle in intensive farming, and also for dairy cattle, of course. But we have, like we see here in these photographs, we have some other systems. And for example, a kind of system that we have in Portugal, these feedlots that are quite common in North America and in Australia, not so common in Portugal. These outdoor, very big fattening units with paddocks with half an hectare or even more, and with several hundred cattle inside. So we're trying to get the way of assessing the welfare also in these conditions. So, should we keep the same indicators as for the welfare protocol, or what are the risks of changing some of the indicators, and what are the variables that we have to look at? The thing is that we should, of course, be sure that the validity of the indicators that we are using, they are guaranteed, and for that we have to do some more studies, for example, and thermal comfort in these animals, especially in summer, is an important issue that should be validated. As you know, the welfare quality protocol doesn't look at it. So we have here that the principles and criteria that are used for the welfare quality. One thing that we've been trying, that we have to ensure, is that all these are included, and the criteria, the 12 criteria, are assessed, and then look for the indicators, or change the indicators, or adapt the indicators to the different systems. We try to keep the animal-based measures, of course, because it's been studied, and they've been ensured as the best way to assess welfare in all animals. So what are we doing with the suckler herds and the fattening outside in the pasture and in large door feedlots? So two things that we've used is pair of binoculars. That's important to have binoculars, because we can't get near these animals, and also include now the assessment that is done at the race or shoot when we bring these animals in, or bring them on purpose for the assessment. Well, fortunately, I worked in New Zealand for a few in 2018, 2019, and there they had the same problem. They had the fattening done all in pasture. The suckler herds and even the milking herds are all at pasture. And so they've done quite a lot of work studying and looking at which indicators could be kept and which ones should be replaced. For example, and this is the result of some of the studies done in New Zealand, what are the welfare quality indicators that should be kept and what are the ones that should be included. And as you can see, and differently from the welfare quality, you can see the handling facilities and the stock person training and the way he or she works around the cattle. Some of them were removed, like the cleanliness of the water troughs, because they are outside. Usually it's natural water troughs like rivers or small ponds, and not easy to assess the cleanliness of these. Also hawk lesions and bloat and tail docking, avoidance distance, they all been removed or changed because it's not easy to use them in pasture, in very large outdoors, working outdoors. So, for example, this is just example. I don't have time to go through all of it, but some of the things that we've been suggested when working in New Zealand, like fearful and agitated animals inside the race, stumbling when coming out of the race, or the way the animal exits the chute or the race, in the way if it's very nervous or calm. And you can see here some of the percentages that are used to classify these different indicators. And here are some more examples of how the animals are handled inside the facilities and how these can be classified. Yeah, you can see some of the papers, and you can see that the classification is in 3 degrees, 0, 1, and 2. As then you can see there, the score will represent in the greens, yellow, or red. This is a way of also making it easier to talk to the farmer, see where it's wrong, see how many red, or how the red part of the assessment, what is the percentage of animals that go into that red zone or the yellow. So it's a way of doing it very quickly and very easily and adapted to different conditions. We've been doing some studies here in Portugal also, comparing different breeds and different systems. And also we've started comparing also conventional or organic farms, and also a study that we're going to do comparing herds in Portugal, Mozambique, and South Africa, and to see how all these farms are working. And in Africa, I have a student that comes from Mozambique, and she's going to try to apply this same protocol in Mozambique and also in South Africa. You can see here some of the behaviors that we've been looking at, these herds, tackler herds, as you see down in the picture below. It's called the Barrosin. It's a typical autochthonous breed, and we've been using it and comparing different farms with different breeds and looking how they behave inside the chute. We've been also looking at the way that the ear tags are positioned, because this is a way of also looking at the handling quality of the farmers, if they know where to put the ear tag. And we've also used that to classify and grade the farm. Also, the availability of water and water quality. Like I said, it's not easy to look at the cleanliness, because most of these herds use natural resources, like I said, rivers or ponds or lakes. And so we look at not only the water quality, of course, if it's polluted or not, but also the distance that the water source is from where the animals are kept or where the pasture is. And so if it's very far away, they can be penalized for that, or they have to change. Here you see that the final score, we have the 4 principles that are included in the welfare quality, but instead of talking about housing, we'll talk about environment, because that's what we're assessing and not the housing. And so we apply this protocol to suckler herds, but also to the feedlots outside when they don't have a housing per se. What happens in Portugal? Portugal is using the almost exclusively the welfare quality protocol for the intensive kept animals, and are using a label called welfare, written like it's down there, welfare with fed from not the same word. And this is a label that's been produced by IRTA in the Catalan country in Spain. This has been working, and we've been, of course, applying it to other production systems that have labels, but different labels related more to the production system and the breed, and not so much to the welfare. What is important in this is that we have to keep the credibility. For this and other protocols, it's very important to keep the credibility. If consumers don't believe in what we're doing, if they don't believe that the label really represents what's happening, we're going to have a big problem with selling products, at least here in Portugal. And so lowering the bar, like I said, so that everyone can go through, is not the way to proceed in the future. And that's why we've been doing, like Beatrice was talking just now, doing training. And these training are also for internal assessors, so auditors, internal auditors that will work in their own farms, or for technicians or vets that work for farms, for different groups, they can do the self-assessment. But also external assessors, auditors, that will go to these farms and certify. And these have to be really well trained to keep the credibility of the certification scheme and of the label that we are going to use. These auditors go through a course, of course, like we've been looking at in this first presentation, the one online. We don't do it online, we do it presential, and they have to go through 3 exams, 1 theoretical, 1 interobservable repeatability exam, and 1 practical exam on farm. Then they go through, if they want to be an external assessor, and if they want to work for the welfare label from IRTA, they have to be accredited by someone from IRTA, or someone that IRTA trusts and wants to and accredits to do this integration. And so the auditor has to do an audit to a farm in the first 18 months after doing the course. And only then can he be considered an auditor for the label. And just to remind you that we're on our way to get an European level labeling, and we have to maybe to start harmonizing these different ways of assessing the welfare, because in the future, I don't know in how many years, but in the future, we'll have welfare, European welfare labeling, and so we have to be prepared for that. And I thank you, and sorry if the presentation wasn't 100%. Thank you.
Now, now I'm online. Thank you, George. Thank you, Beatrice and Kornel, for your presentations. It was very interesting to hear the different ways of welfare quality and animal welfare assessment. And I think there are different questions in the Q box. Mimi, do you can check it? Do you have checked them? And can you any questions? So
Yeah, we do have some questions here. So we have a few for Kornel. The first, which is sort of a little bit been answered already, is that will some of this information will they be translated into English at any point in the future? I know they're not available right now, but is there a plan to do that?
Yes. Thank you for the question. Well, we don't plan, or there is no plan to do so, because the project is already over and it was focused on the German country because of these legal requirement to do this self-assessment. There are some plans to translate the guidelines and maybe later on the online training, but I'm not sure when this could happen. But you can check the online training, because there are a lot of pictures and videos, and I think even if it's in German, you can use it a little bit, because the classification tables I think could be also understand if it's not in English.
Perfect, thank you. I have another question for you, Kornel. So we've got a question here asking, how much time does the farmer spend on the on-farm assessment?
Well, I will say for a farm with about 200 beef cattle, you then need a sample of 65 animals, and the assessment of the animal-based indicators will take about 2 or 3 hours, depends on how much training you have. But I would say it's just about 3 hours to do the whole protocol on the animal-based indicators.
Perfect, thank you. So the next question we have in is for George. Someone's saying perhaps they misunderstood, but did George mention that the feedlots and extensive systems were excluded from the system he mentioned? And if so, why had they been excluded?
No, perhaps I didn't explain well. They're not excluded. What happens is the outdoor feedlots, the ones in the very large pens, and the extensive systems are not, the welfare quality protocol doesn't apply, is not prepared for those kind of systems. So we had to adapt the protocol to these kind of systems. For example, in the welfare quality protocol, it says that for evaluation of cleanliness and also integument lesions, you have to be at 2 meters away from the animal, and that's impossible in these systems. You won't be 2 meters from the animal, or at least not from most of the animals, and that's why the welfare quality doesn't apply, but we have to try and adapt it to this kind of system. I don't know if the answer was
yeah, I think that explains it quite nicely there. Thank you very much, George. I have a final question. I say, if anyone has any more questions, please do put them in the questions box, and I can read them out. But we've got one more question here at the moment. We've got more coming in now. So for Kornel again, they say, thank you very much for the information on a very interesting tool. But do you know if this tool could be adapted to pasture-based situations?
Is this question for me or for?
It's for you, Kornel.
For me.
Yes.
Yes, we've been using it for, like I said, in New Zealand, they started doing it for pasture-based herds, and we're trying to do it also here to apply it here. So yes, perhaps not yet validated in all the indicators, but we're on our way to trying to validate a protocol. Like I said, animal-based, with mainly animal-based indicators, and also using the shoot or the race, and using the binoculars. That's a plus that we've introduced. It's not included in the welfare quality. But yes, we hope to in the future to have a protocol validated for these systems.
Perfect. Thank you.
Maybe in my case, because I'm Kornel, I'm not sure if the question was for George or for me, but maybe I can also just add a little bit.
Please do.
Our protocol, I used the protocol for dairy cattle in the pasture, so this is not a problem to do so. You can also use the data record sheets or even the electronical Excel-based calculator and the indicator as well. For beef cattle, I didn't use it in the pasture. These are the problems George mentioned. You have to come close to the animals, but even in a stable, it's not always the situation that you are 2 meters close to the beef cattle. So there are very different systems, as we all know, and sometimes you also have a little to adapt a little bit how you can watch your animals or score your animals. So the indicators are you can perfectly use, and also the tools we have in that case.
Perfect. Thank you both. I think that was a very good explanation.
Mimi, can I just add one thing?
Of course.
Yeah, I agree completely with the Kornel. Also, just wanted to add my interest in the New Zealand adaptation is that I work a lot in the Azores. Azores is islands in the middle of the Atlantic, and cows are outside all year round, all day in pasture, and that's why I got interested. In the Azores, they want to certify all their farms, the milking and the beef farms. They want to certify them all, and that's why we've been working a lot in pasture-based systems.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Then I have a question. I know that German Ecotiger has a tool to calculate the number of animals which should be evaluated. How is it in France with BovINE and in Portugal? Is there also a tool, or how is a decision?
No, it's well. I can answer for France. Actually, BovINE includes the welfare quality sampling tool, which is a calculation of the minimal sample of animals to observe to get a good representativity of the indicator.
Okay.
It's the same with us.
It is a problem because it is based on welfare quality, which is 10 years old now, and the number of animals in herd has increased, and maybe the calculation does not fit to the actual size of herd anymore for the bigger.
Yeah. It's also a question of time then, which you have to do that. Yeah, okay.
Yes, but it's not so much time actually for the audit. It's about 2 hours, probably, well, all included.
Yeah. Okay, okay. So, yes. Do we have any other questions, Mimi? No.
No, that's all the questions we have at the moment.
Okay, I think we have 1 hour webinar now, and I think that we come to the end. I want to show you again the Bovine website, and you can visit Bovine also via social channels. At last, I want to invite you to join our mailing list and to contact the network manager in your relevant country. And at last, we have the possibility to share the presentations with the audience as a follow-up. I think Mimi can do that. And I thank Minerva for the technical support for this webinar, and many thanks to the speakers. And I hope that our audience can take home many new informations. Thank you very much and good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for the interest,
Thank
and bye-bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye to all. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.